I'm really struggling to see what the point is anymore in these videos because I don't know what I mentioned most weeks apart from the occasional win that we get. That's different. There's nothing different about what I was saying. I said going all week going into this game, into the Southampton game. Don't underestimate them because I think they are very good. They are a good side. Not so good they should be beating us 4-0, mind, but they are a good team. I I expected us to get something from the game today. I certainly felt we should have not had the right, that's harsh, but I would have expected Sunderland to have been capable of getting at least a point from the game. We should have at least tried. And this is the same, you know, what is there? What is there? Tell me in the comments below. Tell me in the comments below if you want. Are you happy watching me just saying the same thing over and over again? Because I mentioned after the Burnley game, for example, another game that were bottled, that can we just get relegated already? Can we just go down? Can we just, and it's not just, and the sad thing is, it isn't just this season. This isn't new to us. This is the exact same shite. Excuse my language, but I really don't give a monkeys. The same stuff we see every year. What's the point? Because even if we stay up this season, what's going to happen next season? Exactly the same thing. We're just going to go, next season we'll probably go down, or if we don't go down this year, which is a big, big surprise if it is, at this point it'll be a big surprise if we don't get relegated. Fine, but next year it'll be the same thing, so why don't we just go, if that's the case, we might as well have just gone down a few years ago then. What's the point? What's the point in all of it anymore? And the last two results now feel completely and utterly pointless because I know obviously on some level it's got us within a couple of points of teams above us. But that's another thing that annoys me. Today, given Southampton's form going into this game, to me was a fixture we should be capable of winning. Even if Southampton's team is better than us. Southampton don't have the divine right to come up here and beat us. Likewise, we don't. I said last week, when I said last week we should be beating Crystal Palace, I believe that club for club, given where we should be, that I should be coming to expect victories against teams like that. And I'd probably classify Southampton in that to an extent, because we should be at least as good as they are. Now, I know we're not, but we should be. And I don't feel I'm being deluded saying that. I don't feel I've got my head screwed off. I think that's pretty fair. Again, and I'll say it again, 10 years successively in the Premier League by this point, Southampton, in half the time, have come up and shot and overtaken us. Again, on what level, from a Sunderland fan perspective, given the length of time in the Premier League, the amount of money we've spent over the last few seasons, the stadium size, and especially the criminally underrated fan base that we've got, on what level is it acceptable that we are still in this position? It's not acceptable. And I'm not letting anybody tell me any different. It isn't acceptable. On what level? Why is it acceptable for us to do this? Southampton fans were having a mare to some extent, despite sitting comfortably in mid-table, which is probably, given that they keep losing their best players and selling them, where they should be. And I like Southampton a lot, but despite all that, and getting to a cup final, and we were the ones more optimistic going into this game. If we've played Southampton back into form, this is why I get angry. This is precisely my point. And it's not the first time it's happened. And this is similar to the Stoke game I did a couple of weeks back, because it's the same thing continuously cropping up again. What is it about the mentality of those useless idiots that seems to think, oh, we'll just capitulate. Oh, no, don't bother staying in the game. Don't bother getting anything. Don't even bother thinking about goal difference. No, it doesn't matter. Just undo everything you did last week. The goal difference is now back to how it was before the Crystal Palace game. So what was the point in going to Palace and winning? What was the point in getting a draw at home to Spurs? If we're just going to undo all of it. Did the Sunderland players properly want it today? Or whenever you're watching this, when we played Southampton, did we really want it? Really want it? First 20 minutes we did, but the second we went behind, we didn't seem to want it. And it says a lot how Southampton are higher than us in the table. And like Stoke, who were in poor form, who are mid-table, who aren't unbeatable, who faced us at the Stadium of Light, a place we should be getting results in, wanted it more than us. I even said the same thing last week to an extent with the goals we scored at Crystal Palace, because to some degree I felt we wanted it more. The first goal last week, I thought Palace was slow to react to that. I felt that Ledley gave Ndong too much respect, rather. Sorry, what was going on in the place. Just gave Ndong too much respect. Felt the second, third, and fourth they gave up. Sounds like at least they competed against Stoke. We sure as hell didn't. So this is my biggest problem with this. When we've played teams again, like the group of games that teams I'm going to mention, Southampton and Stoke are the best in this group. I'm talking in recent seasons. You look at Aston Villa. You look at Crystal Palace when they beat us when Balassi scored their first Premier League hat-trick. 3 guesses who that was against? Yeah. Sunderland. QPR, Hull, Norwich, Stoke, Southampton. We're not even getting capitulated. We're not even getting thrashed off great sides. Southampton and Stoke are good teams, but they were in poor form, really poor form going into the game at home as well. Do we bother to take both chances? And both chances we had, when both games we had chances to get out the bottom 3. Do we take it? No, didn't want it anyway. But then you look at the other games. Southampton, even to an extent, when we got beat 8-0, 4-0 down to Burnley a few weeks back. I don't care if Leicester won the league last season. When we played them in the first game of last season at their place, and they weren't expected to win the league. They were expected at that point to be in a season of struggle, and they needed a fantastic run of form at the end of the previous season to stay up. We were 3-0 down in that game in 25 minutes. We were 4-0 down against Villa at half-time. It was 0-0 against Crystal Palace in 14-15. That was undone in 12 minutes. QPR, when they beat us at the Stadium of Light, hadn't had a single away point going into that game in February. And we didn't try to beat them. We're complacent. You know, Hull, when we lost to them on Boxing Day, one of the teams that ultimately went down, and QPR might add that season finished 20th. Hull, we went 1-0 up and then capitulated and lost. Norwich couldn't even finish in the top 2 of the Championship. I do have a bit of a soft spot for Norwich. Norwich City from Jack Reeve I do quite like a lot. But, you know, Norwich were 3-0 up at our place at one point. What's the point then? You know, and you look at, I mean, even a team like Arsenal, yeah, obviously Arsenal should be beating Sunderland. Of course Arsenal should be beating Sunderland. But you look at the game that they came up here. We got back to 1-1 in that game as well. Nah, don't see out the point. Don't get a point that could help you come the end of the... Nah, just go and lose 4-1. Just go and concede 3 goals in 7 minutes. I know Arsenal should be coming to Sunderland and winning in theory, but should they be scoring 3 goals in 7 minutes up here? No, they shouldn't. I'm not having all of this. And don't get me wrong, I know on some level we aren't gonna win every winnable game. Of course, you know it's not gonna happen. But we never win them usually. We regularly get beat off these teams, and we shouldn't be. And majority of those games, what's it been down to? Up there. That's what it's been down to. What's the point? And I'll be really worried now if we get relegated. Because again, like when Newcastle went down, they had the assets, Sissoko, Wijnaldum, Townsend. They made nearly something like £70 million, almost 70 million off those 3 players alone. We don't have players to do that. Coney would go, Pickford would go, Kasri probably would go, but Kasri you probably barely make what you made back if you make anything, even if you make back what you paid for him on. Coney would make a profit, but only because we spent 5 million on him, and Pickford would only be a profit because he was an academy player. Who else is going to leave? I mean, the Defoe thing. You know, he'll go, but are we going to get anything for him? Probably not. So I'd be really worried. I'd be so worried at this point. And even I said last 2 games, it's still, this can't be just a flash in the pan. It can't just be a couple of freak one-off results. We've got to go and follow that up with victories in other games. Obviously the gap's still short, but if we don't book our ideas up, then we're only going in one direction. I'm going to leave it there, guys. I'm just sick of Sunderland at the minute. And the last thing is, this season we are really on the verge of losing supporters. We really are. If we don't properly book our ideas up, we are on the verge of losing fans. And to that point, there'll be no coming back. See you later.